Okay, so Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. When the angel Jibreel Islam appeared before the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu in the cave of Hira for the first time, he said to him, Iqra. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord. The Prophet Sallallahu replied, Ma'ana bikari. I cannot read. Okay? Just before we go ahead, Iqra is a very important word for a beginning of the journey of the Quran. Okay? Iqra means two things. One is to read, and the second is to recite. Reading, you do something that you're reading off a paper or a tablet or something. When you recite something, you do it off memory. When I say to you, can you recite me the verse of the Quran? You do it off your memory. If I say recite, you're doing it off your memory. Or recite me a poem, recite me something, you're doing it off memory. When I say read, I ask you to read it off something. Okay? So, the Arabic language is unique. One word will have multiple meanings, but both the meanings would apply on something. Okay? Now, the Prophet ﷺ, the Quran mentions in Surah Anfal that the Prophet ﷺ is Nabi al-Ummi. Okay? What that means is someone who is unlettered, as a freshborn baby. Al-Ummi, Ummi is the Arabic word for mother. The Nabi al-Ummi, that someone who's just come out of the mother, that's how unlettered he was. Okay? But that doesn't mean he wasn't intelligent. Okay? So, when the Prophet ﷺ said, I cannot read, the angel embraced him. And he did it so hard that the Prophet ﷺ said, I was completely exhausted. He took all the energy out of me. And he released me. And he said again, Iqra, read. The Prophet ﷺ replied again, I cannot read. And then he hugged him again or embraced him again. Really hard, really tight. Again, he took all the energy out, like someone giving you a really strong bear hug. And you can't breathe to that point. And he released him again. And he said for the third time, Iqra. The Prophet said again, I cannot read. In some narrations, the Prophet, for the third time, the Prophet said, what do you want me to read? Okay? So there's two different narrations from scholars. One, they say that he again repeated, I cannot read. Some say, no, this time, he said, the third time, he said, what should I read? So when he said for the third time, the angel Jibreel said the following verses, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Khalaqal insana min alaq. Read in the name of your Lord who created you from alaq. Alaq in the Arabic language has three meanings. A clot, something that clings. So I'll just write something that clings. Pardon me, right, please. And the third is a leech-like substance. You know those insects, those leeches that suck your blood? Leech. Okay? This is something really huge, what I'm about to describe to you, right? So, the Prophet ﷺ was given information from the future, basically. Okay? So Allah Ta'ala is telling the Prophet ﷺ that read in the name of your Lord who created you out from alaq. Something that's like a clot, or something that's clinging to something, or something that's like a leech. Okay? Now at that time, because the lack of information, the lack of science not been progressed to that level, people didn't believe in this information. They said they didn't know that we were created from what is alaq? What does alaq mean? It was only about over 1,000 years later, in modern day history, when telescopes and microscopes were developed, the scientists discovered that the first thing that develops inside a mother's womb is a leech. When basically the sperm of the male and the female, they combine together, a cell develops named a zygote. Okay? And that zygote, after a few days, takes the shape of a leech. It's a little flesh. It's like a leech, and that leech clings onto the womb of the mother inside. Okay? And what it starts doing then is, you know what a leech does? It sucks blood. So that little piece of flesh starts sucking blood from the mother, and that's how the baby starts growing. Okay? So what Allah has decided here, He's decided to educate the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? Now, if you were a teacher and I brought you someone who did not know how to read or write, what would be the first lesson you'd give him? A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, Alif, Bata. Or Allah Ta'ala is teaching Prophet modern. This science is called embryology, and this little, in scientific terms, Alaq is known as an embryo. You guys got that so far? Again, one more example I would like to give in front of you is, so like I brought 4 people here, right? And they all claim that we developed, let's say, a camera, and they all claim that I made it. How would you, as a person or people, how would you judge that? How would you find out who is the actual creator of that camera? What would you do? Like, any suggestions? Let's say I've got 4 people here, there's a camera, and all of them are claiming that they are the creator of these cameras.
Ask them how they made it.
Ask them how they made it, right? So, there are different religions, the different books of religion. There's the Gita, the Bible, the Torah, and everything. Okay? So, in all those books, when they're talking about the Bhagwans, the gods, the idols, they're all claiming that we made you, we created you. But who's giving you the blueprints? The real creator. You know how created you? He's giving you the blueprints. And no, people didn't discover, science wasn't advanced enough to discover this. There was no way at that time, it was impossible to get this information. And Allah Ta'ala gave that in the second verse of the Quran that was revealed. That's how big this word Alaq is. Okay? So this is one thing I want you guys to do, is follow the command. Read. The first command you were given by the Quran is Iqra, study. Allah Ta'ala give you the information, Alaq. So what happened is, when I say the Prophet ﷺ had secluded himself, he was inside the cave, he was trying to find the purpose of life, the meaning of life. Have you ever had that point in life where you lost, I don't know why I'm here, what am I doing, what's my purpose, what about my future? Has anything like that happened to you? So the first thing a person wants to figure out is about himself. So Allah Ta'ala is starting from yourself. I'll start from the beginning, where you started from. Okay? And they say, when the Alaq develops, the first thing that develops after the sperm join of everything, the first human little flesh thing develops, that's when your ruh is blown into you as well. Or little stages later. That's when your soul is blown into you. So Allah Ta'ala is basically starting from that. There are various other verses in the Quran that will come back to this, that even go to the extent of talking about the DNA and everything. That's how advanced the Quran is. Okay? So carrying on, the other verses that were revealed, and the angel said, "We have created you out of a clot. Read, and your Lord is most generous." Okay, start studying, and your Lord will give you more. When he says someone is more generous, that keep reading, he will keep providing you, he will keep increasing you. Most generous, who was taught by the pen, qalam. Okay, he has taught man which he knew not. That he taught man which he could not find out by himself. Okay? Now when Allah Ta'ala, in the first verse Allah Ta'ala is saying read, second verse is giving you a huge information from future, and the third verse Allah Ta'ala is saying he taught by the pen. Now what does that mean? Now I would like to tell you something, right? There's 3 heavenly gifts that humankind has been given that he didn't learn himself. One is clothing. Have you all guys heard of the story of Adam alayhi salam? Prophet Adam? You see how they ate from the fruit and then the senses came back? So human beings didn't have that sense, that shamelessness that we're naked. Like other animals, they don't have that sense in them. We were like that in the beginning as well. It was only, inshallah, when we come back to Surah Baqarah, there's all the incidents in there, that when they ate from the fruit, that thing came to them. So the clothing we're wearing today is a gift from Allah as well. It's not something from our own, it's a heavenly gift. To clothe yourself. This is haya. Haya, shame, is given by Allah, and unfortunately we're taking it off now, what Allah's given us. Alright? The second thing Allah Ta'ala gave us was bayan, read. Okay? The ability to understand and describe. Okay, which other animals cannot do, and that's how human beings developed. Okay? So basically someone had an idea, they talked with each other, they innovated, right? Now, to keep those ideas alive and to build upon them, you have to have those ideas recorded. Alright? So the third thing we were given was the qalam, the pen, the art of writing down information. So in history, it is written that the first person to be given to be taught the art of writing was Prophet Idris or Enoch in the Bible. He was the one. I think he was the third one down from the line of Adam al-Islam. I think he's from his third or fourth generation. And at that time, people used to have long lives. Like Adam al-Islam had lived 940 years, so people were living huge. They were living centuries. That's how long their lifespan was. So Idris al-Islam was the first person to have been given the gift of writing, and then he taught to the society, and that's when they started recording ideas. But at that time, obviously, it wasn't like a pen sort of thing. Obviously, they were some, like, I don't know, sculpting into rocks or something like that. That's how they started. So they had some ideas, they recorded the information down, the generation down them got those ideas, built upon those ideas, and so on, so on, so on. So we've reached so far, whatever we've developed is because of the qalam and the ability to read Allah has given us. Okay? So moving back to the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, after that the angel disappeared and the Prophet ﷺ ran out. He started running down the hill. Okay? Until the point where some narrations say that while he was running down, he looked back up towards the hill, and on top of the mountain in the horizon, he saw Jibreel Islam in his actual form, and he was so huge that his wings covered the whole horizon, like from east to west. That's how huge he was in his original form, and that's actually what the narrations are in the hadiths and everything. That's how huge Jibreel Islam is in his actual form. So Hazrat Muhammad ﷺ ran back into his own house, and he went to his wife, Khadija radiyallahu anha, and he said to her, "Wrap me up." That he was shaking with fear. He's like, just wrap me up with something. So she wrapped him with a blanket. Okay? And after that, when he calmed down a bit, Khadija asked, "What happened?" And he told her what's happened. Okay? And then he said, "I fear that something's going to happen to me. I'm very fearful that something's going to happen to me." And she said, "By Allah, nothing's going to happen to you." Allah, this is the word of his wife to him, counseling him. Like if you, I don't think no one's married, but even if you went back home and said that to Shaji, if you went back and you said to your wife that something like this happened, first thing she says is, "We better call a doctor." Isn't it, for a normal person? But Khadija radiallahu, that's how honest, this is the evidence of the person Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. He just couldn't lie. So even if when he came with that information, like if me or you, if we had come up with that information, even if it was true, no one would believe us. So the people we are, we joke, we lie, this and that. But Prophet ﷺ was such an honest person that they just couldn't disbelieve him. So Khadija, in the first instance, she didn't say, "Are you sure? Were you dreaming?" She believed him straight away. Okay? And she said to him, "Let me take you to a person who's a bit religiously knowledgeable." So she took him to a cousin his name was Waraka in Arabic. Now, he was a very old man by this time, and he was partially blind as well. But what he had done is he had converted into a Christian, okay, of that time. Before Islam, Christianity was the closest religion that wasn't as that contaminated as other religions or whatever the Arabs were following, like idol worshipping. Christianity still had some elements of this one God at that time. So when she told him, took Muhammad to him and said, "Look, this is what happened to my husband." And he said that indeed this angel is the same glorious one that had come before to Musa alayhi salam and to Isa alayhi salam. And now I fear that your husband, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I fear the day that his own people are going to turn against him when he tells them about this. Okay, because he's going to be given prophethood now. And I fear the day that his own people will be his enemies and will be driving him out of his house. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied that my people will drive me out. That's what position he held. That no one hated him, everyone loved him, and he couldn't just even consider the idea that first his own people would be turning against him, or second, persecuting him, driving him out of the town. Okay. So this hadith ends here. So then after that there was a pause in revelation, and then revelation came out after a couple of months, or some say even after 2 years. Before continuing in this surah, do you guys have any questions so far? Any questions, guys?
No.
Okay. Now, just let me give you a structural analysis of the surah as well, right? This surah, for study purposes, I divided into 3 sections. Alright? So section 1 that we've just gone through was verse number 1 to 5, and I'll name the section as Revelation. Section 2 that we're going to read now is from 6 to 8, and this is Fitrah. Fitrah means the attitude or the condition of a person, right? So let's continue on the ayat. I might even have the best sleep today as well in these lessons. So continuing, so Allah Ta'ala straight away the context changes. So Allah Ta'ala is teaching you, read in the name of your Lord, who taught by the pen, who made you out of Alaq. He is most generous. Read your Lord, read out of what your Lord has taught you, because He taught man which he knew not. Okay, so He's given information which man could have not possibly known himself. So go find out. I've given you the answer. Go find out now. Go research. Read into it. Okay. Now verse number 6. Allah Ta'ala says, "Nay, verily man does transgress, because he considers himself self-sufficient. Okay? Surely unto your Lord is the return." Okay? Even though I'm telling you all these amazing things, even after realizing this, there's a fitrah inside man that he transgresses. Meaning he sins, he disobeys Allah, he transgresses the limits. Okay? And then Allah Ta'ala says, because he considers himself self-sufficient. Because you know what we think that, oh, I got this car, it's because I'm hardworking, I'm talented, I've got MBA, I've got a good job, or I've got this business, it's because of me, I'm really talented, this and that. But Allah is saying, you're nothing, it's all what I've given you. You don't realize that. And still, we don't thank Allah, we don't fear Him. Okay, we don't even consider thinking about Him, or like praying or obeying His commands. We just go in our own life and we think we're self-sufficient, that we've got this ourselves. So we continue, right, let me work more hard, let me pursue this, let me pursue that, thinking we're self-sufficient. But Allah is reminding you, surely unto your Lord is your return. That don't be indulged too much in this life. Always remember that you're going to be returned to your Lord. So ponder upon that. Okay? So this was section 2. This Allah described very shortly the fitrah of the man, and just a little reminder that you're going to be returned back to Him. The section 3 is from verse number 9 till all the way till the end, number 19. Okay? Now, before I explain those verses to you, I'm going to quickly explain a few more hadiths. Now, these are basically a chain of hadiths narrated in tafsirs. So I'm going to be quoting you from Tafsir Ibn Kathir, for reference purposes, if you want to go back home and read. And one more thing, whatever you're learning today, whatever information I'm giving you, please go home and double check. Okay, that's why I'm asking you to make notes. Double check, read, don't believe blindly. Research. I'm a human being, I could be making mistakes today. Okay? But I want you to go home and read. So same thing happened. Prophet started. He started preaching his people, and what Waraka had already prophesied, people started turning against him. The first 5-6 years were really hard for the Prophet Muhammad. Only a few people have converted to Islam. It was his own wife, basically people of his own house. A few of his good friends like Abu Bakr Siddiq, Uthman radiallahu anha, even Umar. You know Umar ibn Khattab, the second Khalif of Islam. He hadn't converted till 5 years, till the 5th Hijri. The 5 years into Islam, he hadn't converted. And at that time, he was a staunch, enemy of Islam. So basically, he was persecuting people who were going into Islam or converting. Okay. So there's two personalities. There were two very esteemed personalities in Makkah at that time. It was Umar ibn Khattab, and it was Amr ibn Hakim. That was Abu Jahl. Okay, and both of them were held a status amongst the chiefs of Makkah, and Abu Jahl was even one of the chiefs of Makkah as well. Okay, and they were strong. Okay, they had influences. They were controlling the economical structures and the political side of the region as well. So they were involved into politics, economics, everything. They were powerful people. Both of them were powerful people. And I don't know if you've heard of the famous narration when Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a dua to Allah that, oh Allah, either convert one of these ummahs to Islam. And then Allah Ta'ala fulfilled his dua and converted Umar ibn Khattab. And when Umar ibn Khattab converted, that's when people started following just by seeing that one person, because they feared him that if he converted, because he was a really strong man, huge structure and everything, and he was, Jalali sort of person, aggressive. So people feared, a lot of people didn't convert just out of the fear of Umar ibn Khattab, that he might come and he'd kill us. But when he saw him convert, they were relaxed, so they followed him as well, they followed suit. But the other Umar, Abu Jahl, he didn't convert. And he was a staunch disbeliever, and he was basically a hater, right? So what Prophet Muhammad used to do was he used to go worship Salah outside the Kaaba. Okay? Abu Jahl once got annoyed. Okay? And he said to Prophet Muhammad that if I see you worshipping again, I'll basically come and step on your neck and kill you. Okay? The Prophet got angry, and the Prophet said, go away. And he replied back, are you telling me to go away? Do you know who I am? Like imagine he's one of the most powerful people, right? And you're talking back to him basically. Kaaba is their territory, it's where they have kept their idols, and you're praying your salah there, and he's annoyed because of that. He's threatening you to kill you, and you're telling him, you're standing up to him saying, go away. Prophet never got rude. He was brave, he stood his ground, but he always had his manners, even to enemies. Someone's threatening to kill you, and you still, in the politest way, in the best way you can, all he said was, go away, leave me alone. Okay? And then Abu Jahl said, let me go get my man, I'll call all the people of the town, I'll tell you what I can do with you. Okay? So Prophet came back, some say the next day or a few days back, and he was praying again. And someone told Abu Jahl that, look, the Prophet Muhammad is praying. I said, watch, I'm going to break his neck today. Okay? So Abu Jahl started walking towards where the Prophet was praying, and as he was about to go near him, he started moving back. And as he was moving back, he started putting his hands on his face. And then he started running in the other direction. And then people went to him and said, what happened? Like, we thought that we were going to hurt him or something. He ran back. He said, basically, as soon as I was approaching the Prophet Muhammad, I saw the ground in front of me open up, and I saw a trench of fire. And I could see creatures with wings coming up to me. Okay? And just keep this story, this hadith in your mind. And I'm going to continue reading now. Okay? After this incident, so the uniqueness about the Quran is a full surah is never revealed. There's very few surahs that were revealed in this full entirety. A few verses are revealed, and then some few verses are revealed later in time. And at the end of Revelation, when all the verses were revealed, that's when the Prophet compiled the Quran. Okay? Everyone following so far? Any questions? Any questions? Understanding? Questions, sisters? Huh? Alright. So this is what Abu Jahl said. I'm going to start from reading the ayat of the Quran now from here, continuing from verse number 9. Allah Ta'ala says, have you seen him who prevents? The person who prevents, coming from this context, a servant when he prays. So Allah Ta'ala is referring to Abu Jahl that, have you seen a person who prevents a servant when he's praying? Like when my servant Muhammad when he's praying, have you seen him prevent him? Have you seen if he is on guidance, meaning the one preventing, is he on guidance? Like, on what grounds is he telling that person not to pray? Is he on guidance? Or enjoying taqwa? Or does he have, what taqwa is? To have the faith in God, or have trust in God, or fear of God, that's taqwa. He said, does that person have taqwa? Like, on what grounds is he telling my servant not to pray? Okay? Have you seen if he denies and turns away? Okay? Knows he not that Allah sees? That doesn't he know that Allah is watching him do this? Okay? Nay, if he sees us not, we will scorch his forehead. So this is referring, when he was about to grab him and the trench to open up, Allah Ta'ala says that, doesn't someone know when he's trying to prevent my servant from praying that I'm watching, I'm his protection then? Because obviously that person who's praying, he's devoted to Allah at that time. He's not looking around him if someone's coming to hurt him. And at that time, this surah is also approved that you're under Allah's protection. Okay? So Allah Ta'ala even opened a trench of fire right there, and the angels of hellfire were right there to grab Abu Jahl and drag him right down to hell if he had come to hurt Prophet Muhammad. And this verse number 15 that says, nay, if he sees us not, we will scorch his forehead. Okay? A lying sinful forehead. Okay, we will grab him by the forehead, we will scorch it. And Allah Ta'ala, why is Allah saying a lying sinful forehead? Before we continue, I'll give you another scientific fact, because I got a bit confused that why only the forehead, why nothing else? So this is again, inshallah, when we do Surah Rahman, I will do an in-depth discussion about this, but in school, have you guys studied about the anatomy of the brain? The cerebellum, the brain stem and everything. Okay? Cutting short, a brain mainly is divided into three parts. The top layer, I think that's called the cerebellum, and the middle layer, that's the cerebellum, and then the brain stem. Okay? All decision making is done in the cerebellum, the front lobe, which is right here underneath the forehead. Okay? This is where we make decisions. This is when we decide to lie, we decide to sin, we decide to hurt someone. So I'm just pointing out, look at the wordings of the Quran. Allah Ta'ala is saying, I'm going to grab you from the part of your body that decides to do all these evil things, from your forehead. Because right under there is your forehead where you decide to sin. So I'm going to burn that bay out. Okay? Then let him call upon his counsel. So remember when I said Abu Jahl said that I'm going to go get my people, I'm going to show him. Allah Ta'ala says, let him call his counsel. Let him call, he wants to call. We will call out our guards of hell. Nay, do not obey him. Fall prostrate and draw near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a ayah of sajda as well, so please make sajda today in your next prayer, your next sajda. So basically Allah Ta'ala is telling Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that don't worry about it, don't stop praying, you fall into sajda to your Lord. So what do you guys get? What did you guys get out of the third section? Shaji, what do you think of the third section? What did you get out of this?
Allah can't be stopped.
Allah can't be stopped. What other importance? What other very important things Allah is pointing out to?
You try to stop the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will basically destroy you.
Right, that's correct. There's one more very important thing.
Right.
Salah. Importance of salah. Even if you're under your life threat, Allah Ta'ala has not given you that flexibility to skip salah. Right? Even in the Quran, even if you're in a state of war, even if you're in a state of war, even then you can't miss salah. We will inshallah read the Surah Imran and Surah Anfal after this. Then when the Sahabas were at war, what used to do is one party used to fight, where the other half of the army used to pray. Your salahs are shortened down in the state of fear. And this is also a fiqhi masla. So it depends on different fiqhs that how many rakats you can pray under state of fear, but you cannot skip salah no matter what. Okay. And by the way, these ayat were revealed after the incident. So when all of this was happening, the Prophet ﷺ didn't know the trench is going to open here. The Prophet ﷺ, these ayat weren't revealed before the incident, this happened after the incident. Okay? So what I got from this ayah was also the bravery of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Do you see his bravery? He's been threatened that if I see you here, and he knows that person can harm me, and what that person is capable of. And this is the taqwa of Muhammad ﷺ. He didn't care about his life, he came back and prayed. And this was after that Allah told him, because you talk about this is the protection you had and you didn't even realize. If someone came near you, we would have taken him down into hell. Okay? So this is our Surah Alaq completed. Okay? 3 sections. Section 1 was revelation. Section 2 was fitrah. And the section 3 was, I'll say, power of salat or namaz. Okay? Again, if it wasn't, because I've done a little research, I've told you the background and stuff, right? If a beginner is reading this surah, yeah, he'll be a bit dazzled, because Allah Ta'ala's, the context is changing and that it wouldn't make sense to him. He'd say, Allah Ta'ala was just talking about reading in my name, he was talking about Allah and everything. Then he went straight to saying that man transgresses and something, and suddenly he's gone to an incident that you wouldn't understand these ayat, these 9 to 10, if you don't know the background, if you don't know the context of this hadith, this incident that happened, you wouldn't understand that. Who is trying to hurt who? Like Allah Ta'ala says, have you seen the person who prevents a servant when he prays? Like who's preventing, which servant is he preventing? So that's why, another thing, when you read the Quran, you need to know the context of the surah as well. Like in what context this was revealed. And the surah, this is not just for Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. How is this applying to you? Allah Ta'ala is basically reassuring you that we sometimes might be in situations when someone might not threat to prevent you from praying, but they would say, let's say, like you're about to pray, your friend calls you, come, let's go out shopping. You say, oh, I've got a salah to pray. Don't worry, man, please, come back and pray Maghrib, man. When did you become so religious? When did you decide praying? When did you become a Muslim all of a sudden? You never prayed salah before. And then you kind of like get influenced, okay, you're out, yeah. Well, then I said, this happens, right? In life. Or we're not living in those countries, alhamdulillah, this country does give us the flexibility. But if you see like countries like Rohingya or Israel, Palestine, like they butcher you, they kill you, they don't let you practice your deen. And even like so many other countries where they literally like come and destroy your mosques and stuff, right? Allah says no matter what, you can't skip salah. And if you have true taqwa, this is to have the protection of Allah, you need to believe that Allah will protect you as well. Without taqwa, your protection wouldn't be there. If you don't believe that Allah is going to protect me, how is your protection going to come? So you need to have that taqwa. Okay? So, again, first ayah, the first verse of this surah, Allah Ta'ala is saying, read in the name of your Lord. Alright? The last ayah, the last verse of the surah, Allah Ta'ala is saying, fall prostrate and draw near to Allah. Alright? So, in other hadith, it also says that man is closest to Allah in the state of sajda. The state of prostrating is closest to Allah. Alright? So to understand the Quran, the formula is in section 1. Read and figure out. Whatever material Allah Ta'ala has given you, He's given you the answers basically. All you need to know is how we got to the answer. If Allah Ta'ala is talking about Alaq, all you need to go is research what is Alaq. Alright? And you'll find out that's the beginning of a creation, and you'll be amazed like wow. Right? Another thing is, I think you missed that bit when I was discussing in the beginning, like how in our homes they say to you that Quran is too complicated for you to understand, you can't do it on your own, you need a scholar and this and that. The biggest example is the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was unlettered as a baby who came out of his mother.
Don't agree with you.
On that one?
Yeah, on that one.
This is a verse of the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha.
I'll do my research and I'll explain further.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
after that we can have discussion. Yeah, if you have any questions, we can always have discussions on that one. Okay? And but he was intelligent. How? When I told you when he's secluding himself, when he's in the cave, he's secluding himself. He's realized that my people, whatever they're worshipping, isn't God. He's figured that out. That these idols, the sun, the stars, or the moon, they're not God. Okay? He's realized that the way my people are living, they're taking riba, they're drinking alcohol, they're gambling. This is not the lifestyle to live. Although it's luxurious lifestyles, the Quraysh, but this is not right. Because in a society, no one considered those things to be wrong. This is the form of intelligence, you're thinking, right? So to understand the Quran, that's the main thing you need to understand. You need to read, you need to research.
But then what you use for your research, you're using books, you're using material. Those books are your teacher. You can't understand the Quran just by picking it up, reading it. You will need to do some studies. And if you're not using a guide as a physical teacher, then these books are your teacher, what you're using. So it contradicts your point. You cannot understand the Quran just like this.
What I'm saying is, like myself, I didn't go to a teacher. Right? I picked up the Quran. Like I said in the beginning, it's better. I'm not saying that having a teacher is a bad thing. If you can, good. Go to an institute, go do it. But if you can't, in the meantime, doesn't mean you just sit. Oh, I don't have time, I don't do this. It doesn't mean you just sit. Allah Ta'ala is a teacher himself. Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran. This is opening verse of Surah Rahman. The Al-Rahman taught the Quran. Right? Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَكَدْ يَسْرُنَا الْقُرْآنَ الذِّكْرِ فَحَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. We have made the Quran easy for remembrance. Is there anyone who will make effort? Okay? Allah Ta'ala will open the doors for you. Basically, the thing is, the answers are in there. The answer is in there. Right? So I'm not discouraging the fact that you shouldn't go to teachers or anything. Best thing is, if you can find an institute, if you can find a teacher, study with him. If not, doesn't mean you just sit like that. If you are at home, open the Quran. It's guidance for mankind. Alright? The best thing is, read it for yourself first, note down points. And whoever you go to study with, can you explain this verse to me? Can you explain this hadith to me? Okay? If he's saying something different, that's not matching with the Quran, you know whether somebody else is wrong. What you can say is, so whatever I do is, whatever I quote is direct. I don't, all the proofs, all the evidences are from the Quran. The verses of the Quran, what they say here, this is. I don't believe in like giving personal opinions or anything like that. Okay? So, I will finish on there on Surah Alaq. Again, any questions? Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. Okay. There was a few other things I want to point out to you.